Today I'm going to talk to you about how to keep your stencil on after you have applied it. Some techniques you can use to make sure that you don't rub your stencil off and that it stays on the entire time until you get your outline done. There's a lot more to it than just slapping these on and going to town. So I will show you some of those techniques and better ways to keep your stencil from rubbing off. The first thing, and I think this is one of the most important steps in doing a stencil, is making sure that you clean the area with rubbing alcohol. And the reason for that is to remove the grease that is on your skin, and make sure you shave also so you don't have hair that is going to get in the way of your stencil. So make sure you clean the area off with rubbing alcohol real good, and what that's doing is just removing the grease from your skin, and it will allow your stencil to stick to the skin better. You can use several different things to do a stencil. I saw a video on was using personal lubricant to do a stencil. So there are two different types. This is a water-based. I'm going to put a small amount on here. And we're going to stick this stencil on here and see what kind of result we get from this. So you can see that we have gotten a transfer with the personal lubricant. Now remember that that was water-based. You don't want something that's really greasy on there, really slimy. Here's green soap, and this is what they used to use for tattoo stencils. And it works. So this is just straight green soap. Here is our green soap stencil. Now the issue is that it dried up really quick. That's why I have this little fuzzy area here. Let me try and do another one and do it before the green soap dries up. That one's a lot better. You can see that if you mess up, don't just throw your stencil away, because you might be able to use it again in case of emergencies without having to go back and retrace your stencil. You can also use some Speed Stick deodorant. Okay, now for you guys who live in the UK and live places where you can't find Speed Stick, it doesn't have to be Speed Stick. It just has to be deodorant. So it can be any brand as long as it has the deodorant. You don't want the antiperspirant. And it has these ingredients in it: propylene glycol and alcohol. It will work. So you can use a different brand as long as it's the deodorant and it has those ingredients on it. The only reason why we use Speed Stick here in America is because it's super cheap. It's the cheapest stuff you can find, pretty much. So I've used Old Spice, but it's $3 a bottle, or $3 a container, and Speed Stick is only about 98 cents, $1 for a container. So as long as it's deodorant, it'll work. It doesn't have to be Speed Stick. Now, what you don't want to do is just open this up and smear this around on your skin, because then this is contaminated. You have to throw the whole thing away after using it one time. So get a tongue depressor and then rub it across the top of this until you collect some of the deodorant, and you just need enough to wipe it on your skin. And at this point you can just get it with your finger here on your glove, wipe it around, and then you can take your stencil and put it right on there. When you put these on, put a little pressure on it, kind of push it down onto the skin before you peel it off. So you can see that deodorant, lube, and green soap will all put a stencil on the skin. You can see that you can use different ways to put these stencils on, but they have their advantages and their disadvantages. The green soap by itself dries up real quick. The lube is a little slimier. I got a little fuzzier stencil on that. The Speed Stick by itself, the deodorant, I think works really good, but you see you have to get it off in a chunk and kind of rub it around, and that's also a pain. So what people have come up with are stencil solutions that get rid of that problem.